Hi everybody, welcome in. Today we're working on part 2 of our sugar cookie heart crochet amigurumi. In part 1 we made the icing, and in part 2 we're going to be making the cookie base. So if you haven't seen part 1, I'll go ahead and link it down in the comments, and we'll go ahead and get started. So the cookie base is going to be very similar to the icing. We're just going to be making it a little bit bigger, so that way whenever we sew it together, it all matches correctly. Okay. So for the cookie base, I'm actually using a tan yarn. This is the Woobles Easy Peazy tan yarn. Okay, and then my crochet hook is a 4.5mm hook. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with row 1, and I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, and then increase in the second chain from the hook. Oops, let me go ahead and start over on that. So again, for those just joining, we're starting with row 1, and we are chaining 2, and then we're making an increase in the second chain from the hook. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and put our stitch marker right here. So this is going to be the bottom of the cookie hearts. Okay. And now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and then 2 increases. Okay, so here's how it's looking so far. And then we're going to move the stitch marker over here. Okay, so here's how it's looking. It's kind of looking like a kind of a small triangle so far. But this is the base, the end of the hearts. Okay? So in the next row, we are now going to chain 1 and turn, and then increase, 2 single crochet, and another increase. Alright, and then we are going to move our stitch marker to over here. Okay, so here's how it's looking so far. We have a kind of a triangle going. Okay, so the next one, we are going to chain 1 and turn, increase 4 single crochet, and then another increase. So, hi, Rise Above 5208. How are you doing from Fort Worth? So, I'm actually in San Antonio. Oh, there we go. Okay, so again for this row, we are chaining 1 and turn. We are doing an increase, 4 single crochet, and then another increase. You came up on my recommended, so I thought I'd stop by and catch you before bedtime. Oh, nice! Thank you so much for dropping in. I appreciate it. Okay, so there's our increase. So how are y'all doing this evening? Okay, and then we're just gonna move our stitch marker. Okay, so it's looking kind of funky. I have a couple holes there, but that's alright. This is the back of the cookie anyway. So, okay, so that is row 4. Not bad. I'm learning Tunisian crochet. Oh, nice. Is it difficult to learn? Okay, so for row 5, we are going to be chaining 1 turn, increase, 6 single crochet, and then another increase. Yeah, I learned crochet a couple years ago, but I've done a lot of like amigurumi projects. I don't have the patience to do a giant blanket or anything like that. I would like to, but I just haven't been able to get myself to do that. Alright, that completed that row now. So we're just going to move our stitch marker to over here. Okay, so that just completed row 5. So it's looking a little bit more like a triangle a little bit. No, fairly easy. I just need to stay consistent with practice. I actually hand knit blanket scarves and shawls. My daughter got me into crochet. Oh, very cool, very cool. How long have you been crocheting? So do you ever do like craft fairs or anything like that? I've considered making some things and like renting a stall at some craft fairs here in Texas, but I just don't have the courage to do it just yet. Less than a year. Okay, very cool. Okay, so row 6, we're going to chain 1 and turn, increase 8, single crochet, and then increase. Oops. Okay, so there's that row, and we're just going to move our stitch marker. Okay, so here's how it's looking so far. Okay, so row 7. Oops. Okay, so row 7 is a chain 1 and turn, and then single crochet in the next 12 stitches. And this is row 7. Okay, there's our row 7. And then we're just going to move our stitch marker again. Okay, so row 8 is going to be the exact same. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and then single crochet into the next 12 stitches. Okay, and there's our row 8. And then we're just going to move our stitch marker. Okay, so now we are on row 9, and row 9 is the exact same. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and then single crochet into the next 12 stitches. Okay, there's the end of our row, and then we're just going to be moving our stitch marker to over here. Okay, so that was row 9, so now we're about to start on row 10. Oops. Okay, and row 10 is going to be the exact same. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and then 12 single crochets. So here's how it's looking so far. I know I have a couple open gaps here, but once we start sewing up the sides, it'll work a lot better. It'll all blend in. Alright, there's the end of our row 10. And then we're just going to be moving our stitch marker over here. Okay. So here's how it's looking so far. It looks still like a triangle. Okay, so that was our row 10. Okay, so starting with the next row is where we are going to be doing the top of the heart, the two bumps in the heart. So these can be a little tricky. So we're just going to take it like one small section at a time. Okay, so we're going to chain 1 and turn. And then we're going to do a half double crochet into this next stitch. Okay. And then we are going to do a two double crochets into the next stitch. Okay, so there's one, and then we have the second one, all in the same stitch. Okay, so here's how it's looking so far. You can kind of see where the bump is going to be. Okay, the next one is going to be a treble crochet. And we're going to do that 2 times into this next stitch. Well, if I can get that, there we go. So yeah, you can kind of tell where the heart, the round part of the heart is starting. Okay, we're on the last part of this in this stitch. Alrighty, there we go. So you can kind of start seeing where the heart is going to be. It's kind of starting to take some shape now. Okay, so the next step is we are going to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch. Okay, there's 1, Okay, and there's the second one. So you can kind of see now it's starting to look more like a heart. Okay, and then in the last for the last stitch for the right side of the heart, it's going to be a half double crochet. Okay, and then there's the foundation for one of the sides of the hearts. Okay, and then the next step we are going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch. There we go. Okay, so now you can really see it's starting to take shape now. Okay, and then we're going to do one more slip stitch. And the second slip stitch might be a little difficult depending on how much tension you have on your yarn. Oops. Make sure I don't lose my yarn. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start on the second half of the heart. Okay, so we're going to do a half double crochet into the next stitch. Okay, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So here's how it's looking so far. Okay, so the next one we're doing 2 double crochets. Okay. And then we are going to be doing 2 treble crochets into the next stitch. Okay, so here's how our heart is looking so far. So once we finish this row, we are going to be like crocheting around the heart to really straighten up and tighten all the edges. Okay, so now we're going to do a double crochet, 2 double crochets into this next stitch. Okay, there's my 2 double crochet. Okay, and then for the last stitch to finish off the heart bumps, it's going to be 1/2 double crochet. Okay, so that is how it's looking so far. So what I like to do is, that is the end of our the heart bumps. So I like to put my stitch marker right here, so that way whenever I do the outline, I know exactly where I stopped with this row, so I don't accidentally do a few extra stitches here and there. Okay, so that's the foundation for the heart. So now we're going to be working along the outline of the heart. We're going to tighten up the heart and we're going to smooth everything out. So all I'm going to be doing for this side of the heart is I'm just going to be doing some single crochets along the side over here. So you can already see just with those couple stitches that it already tightened this part of the heart up. Okay, so there's I crocheted, I just did single crochets along the base, so you can tell already, you know, this side compared to this side is already a lot smoother. It's a lot tighter than it was. So we reached the end of the heart right here, so we're going to be doing an increase on this to really keep that sharp point. Okay, so now we're at the bottom of the heart again. So here's how it's looking so far. Okay, and then we are just going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to do single crochets along this side of the heart over here. Well, if I could, there we go. Okay. So yeah, you can tell it's already, you know, we just did half of the side of the heart, but it's already tightening it up and really evening it out. So okay, so now we're getting up close to the heart bumps again. So here's the back, that you could tell where the, you know, those extra double crochets and stuff were on the back. And then here's the front. So if you wanted to, if you're happy with, you know, how the bumps up here look, you can definitely stop right here. But I'll go ahead and show y'all how to continue if you want to really even that out a little bit more. So I know I have a couple holes here and there, but what I like to do is whenever I'm finished with it, I'll cut my yarn and I'll just kind of, you know, sew in the little holes together. I mean, this is going to be the back of the cookie anyway, so hopefully no one will really see it, but okay, so to finish this off, we are going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to do 4 increases. Okay. So then we are going to do 2 more single crochet. Okay, so yeah, so we have 2 more single crochet. And then we have 2 slip stitches. So now if you prefer to have more of the heart kind of dip down more, you can always do an extra couple slip stitches into like down here in the heart. It'll just like really make it more noticeable. Like or it'll give it more definition, I guess is the right word to say. Let's see if I can get that off. Okay. Sometimes the tension is a little bit too tight. I can't always get it. There we go. Okay. So here's where we're at now. Okay, so I prefer to do 1 more slip stitch, kind of more down, a couple stitches down, just to give it more definition. See if I can get it. Well, if I could get it. I apologize. I crochet a little too tight sometimes. So sometimes the stitches don't always... There we go. Okay. So there we go. Okay, so here's how the heart is looking now. And then we're just going to go ahead and finish off this bump right here. So we're going to go ahead and do, let's see, we're going to do 4 single crochets. Oops, that's not the right one. There we go. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Sorry, I had a mess up with one of my stitches there for a second. Okay, so we're going to do 4 single crochet. Okay, so that was our 4 single crochet. And then we are going to do 2 increases. Okay, and then we're just going to finish off single crochets until we get our get to our stitch marker. So for me, that's 3 stitches. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here's how our heart is looking now. So now if you want to, you can always do, you know, to make it a larger heart, you can always do another outline. If you want it like to be a bigger heart, I might actually do a few more stitches just to connect this little gap right here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. I'm not really sure how exactly that happens, but there we go. That's a lot better. Okay. So here's our heart now. So this is going to be the back of the cookie. So, in part 1, I actually already did the icing, so this is part 2, the back of the cookie. So, I am going to do a part 3 where I put the cookie together. I will go ahead and be doing that tomorrow evening. Thank you so much to everyone who joined me this evening. I hope everyone had a great time, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the evening, and I will see you all tomorrow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more crochet amigurumi.